What's good, y'all? Shagama Kai. Welcome back to my channel. Make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're new, make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, and every subscriber helps. Over here on this channel, we upload daily NBA content. So if you love the NBA as much as I do, which you probably do, make sure you subscribe. And today we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets and what I think they should do, in this next coming off season in order to help them stay competitive in the near future, meaning, next season. So the Houston Rockets, they went out in the second round in about 5 games to the Lakers. They tried the whole, micro, small ball, whatever you want to call it thing. Mike D'Antoni and Daryl Morey tried the whole shoot 1,000 threes, live and die by the three. Threes are worth more than two, so we should take a bunch of those. They tried that system for years and years and years and years, and it just never really produced any championships or finals appearances. They were the only team to come, this close to beating those KD Warriors, but other than that, it's been a pretty lackluster, stretch of seasons for the Rockets. And not lackluster in the, winning games, because they were a 60-win team most of the time, or close to 60, but when it, at the end of the day, teams and coaches and players and staff and everybody, you want to win championships, you want to be in the finals. And I'm pretty sure James Harden, I'm pretty sure Mike D'Antoni is very disappointed, with what happened. But now, it's a new coach. It's going to be a new GM in Houston, and I think, this could be great for James Harden and Russell Westbrook, because they finally, well, not Russell finally, but James Harden finally gets to, widen his game a little bit, take more mid-range shots, not have to dribble the ball 10,000 times before, something happens. It doesn't have to be such a, heliocentric offense, meaning like the whole offense gravitates around James Harden. If James Harden can't produce or create for anybody else, then nothing happens. So, it's finally time for James Harden to go back to what he used to be. James Harden used to shoot mid-ranges, believe it or not. A few years back, I want to say maybe like 5-6 years back, James Harden was a mid-range shooter. He was a, more of a well-rounded player. But, Mike D'Antoni, he's a great coach. He's going to win you a lot of games. He's going to make, your best player into an even better player. The numbers are going to look insane. You see what he did with Steve Nash at Phoenix. And you see how he turned from James Harden to an all-star, to MVP level player with him. But at what cost, It costing them a bunch of championships. So, a move that Houston could look at. Personally, I don't think they should look at this move, but they could trade Russell Westbrook. They could trade him to, I was looking at, the trade machine. I'm like, who could be a trade partner for Houston? But Westbrook is over 30 years old. He's making over $30 million a year. He's an aging, athletic player. And, an aging athletic player, once they lose that, athleticism, the explosiveness, the bounce, it's like, what can you really do for me? Like, if you're going to be so predictable, if you're not going to have that explosiveness that you used to have, I don't really want nothing to do with you. Not saying that Westbrook has lost his explosiveness, but there's definitely been a downgrade in explosiveness and just overall athleticism with Westbrook. You can see it. But a trade with the Knicks could look like Julius Randle, Elfrid Payton, Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith Jr. I'm just throwing out some names, but official trade, it would definitely include Julius Randle. I think he could help the Rockets on the inside. You can get a guy like Dennis Smith Jr., another athletic point guard, but once he got traded from Dallas, he just never seemed to put the pieces together in New York, and he just became trash. He got put out of rotation, I think, and he just became not the best player. But you could also get a guy like Elfrid Payton as another guard for Houston. But the reason I'm so wary of a trade with the Knicks is because who are the Knicks going to give you that's as valuable as Russell Westbrook at this point in his career? Because Russell Westbrook is an all-star right now. Like, he's still an all-star level player. So I'm not going to look at the Knicks and be like, man, they giving me Elfrid Payton, Julius Randle, Kevin Knox. Like, they giving me all these guys, Frank Ntilikina. Like, I'm not going to be amazed by a trade offer from the Knicks from the Rockets. But if you really just want to blow things up, because if we're being honest, James Harden and Russell Westbrook do not fit, as a duo. Houston, they called the OKC and wanted Westbrook, or was it Westbrook that, wanted to go to Houston? That was more of a, chemistry move, because him and James Harden go way back. They, grew up in the same area. They were friends growing up, played at OKC together. So they were just, the best of friends. But when it comes to basketball teams, you can't just put any random people together just because they're cool. Like, cause you think about it, what can Russell Westbrook do off ball while watching James Harden dribble the ball? Can he shoot well? No. Is he gonna cut? No, because of the system. So maybe in this system, We see a lot more motion in Houston's offense. Motion offense with Russell Westbrook is very dangerous. He's very quick, and imagine, let's see James Harden. He's on a pick and roll with whatever big they have. We're gonna talk about that later. On a pick and roll, whatever big they have. Westbrook comes from the other side, backdoor cut. That could be a lot of easy buckets. That's just one example of one player that could go. But who said that James Harden has to have the ball all the time? Russell Westbrook had the ball. James Harden can do some off-ball stuff. James Harden is a great shooter. James Harden is a great, overall scorer, but I'm pretty sure he's more valuable off ball than Westbrook. So maybe don't have James Harden hold the ball for as much as he did under Mike D'Antoni. Maybe let Westbrook get, more touches. Because, when they first put those two together last season, I'm like, maybe James Harden has to be like, man, Westbrook can't really shoot, so maybe I should be the one standing around more than not. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, Westbrook, off ball, he cannot shoot. Like, you saw what the Lakers did. They just left him wide open and made guarding the Houston Rockets way, way easier than it should have been. And it's just like, you don't really want your team to be able to be guarded so easily. But, move out there they should do. They have a few guys that they can, coming off their books. Bruno Caboclo, Thabo Sefolosha, Tyson Chandler, David Nwaba. Then you can free up some of that money. You can get a cheap big man, because this whole small ball, micro ball thing, it does not work. I don't see it working. I don't see it being that effective. Was it a little effective in the past season? I mean, yeah, I guess. Like, they did beat, some teams with it, but when it came to the playoffs and the Lakers really locked in on them, it was hell for them. So when you free up that money by releasing those guys, you can get a cheap center. I think Dwight Howard's going to be pretty cheap this season. Did he play well for the Lakers? Yeah. Did he do his role? Yeah, but he wasn't like some all-star or anything. So I think, he'll take a $6 million contract, 2 years, maybe $12 million. I don't think Dwight Howard's going to be that expensive. You can look at a guy like Aaron Baines. He can shoot, rebound. Maybe that could be a valuable piece for Houston. I don't know if they would have the money for that, though, because Aaron Baines, he didn't have the greatest season, but didn't have the worst season either. He averaged about, I think it was 12 points, shooting 55% from the field, 35% from three. So that could add another shooter to Houston's, great offense they have already. But Houston needs to re-sign Austin Rivers. He was great for them coming off the bench. Automatic, instant offense off the bench. A great, third ball handler behind James Harden, Westbrook. And a great third ball handler behind James Harden and Westbrook. Also re-signed Jeff Green. He can knock down threes. He's athletic. He's good defensively. And that's really all the moves for Houston, because there isn't that much they can do with all, their cap locked up. And basically two players. Like, James Harden is getting paid mad money. Russell Westbrook is getting paid mad money. So it's like, what can you really do with such little money? You go out there, you get you a cheap center, you start running pick and rolls again, you start going back to, regular basketball instead of all this experimental stuff. So, maybe we'll see James Harden maybe average less points, but maybe it'll do better when it comes to winning games. And I hope that Steven Silas, the new Rockets head coach, I hope that he implements a motion offense, because all that standing around stuff, when it comes to the playoffs, if James Harden isn't producing, he's been known to, crumble in the playoffs. We saw in OKC in that nail biter, he was not doing good in Game 7. They won by the skin of their teeth, and it should not be that way against a team like OKC, where you have one of the best players in the world, two of the best players in the world. It should not be like that. But, maybe the offense doesn't have to be so centered around James Harden for once. And I think if Houston just, switches it up, get a cheap center, like I said before, re-sign Austin Rivers, re-sign Jeff Green, they're going to be just fine. Do I think they're going to win a championship? No, but, can they still be competitive? Yeah, of course. Do I think they should trade James Harden? No, they made it clear that they're not trading James Harden. He's been attached to some rumors with, Philly. And I covered this in my Philly video, but I don't think a trade like that is going to go down, because, you don't trade James Harden right now. You don't trade one of the best, if not the best, offensive player in the game. You don't do that right now while he's at, pretty much in his prime. So, yeah, that's what I think about the Houston Rockets. I think, they got a lot of questions going into the future, but right now, get you a cheap center, re-sign, Austin Rivers, Jeff Green, and switch up that offense, Steven Silas, if you ever watch this. But yeah, if you say to the end of this video, thank you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video.